Guys, what is going on? I have got the Boss WAZA tube amp expander busted out here for a new video because Boss just out of nowhere dropped version 3 of the system software for this unit on us, and it brings a huge improvement for the overall sound of the device. Now, my main complaint with the tube amp expander from day one has always been that you only get to use one IR at a time, and for me that's very limiting, and I like to blend and sort of like mix and match impulse responses to get usually a bigger sound than what you can normally get with just one. Now, if you're familiar with the smaller version of this unit, the core version, you'll know that they included a proper dual impulse response loading system where you can blend two IRs together, and it has actual cabinet simulation with the mic positioning and different microphones and all that good stuff. And I was like, the big one needs that. The big one really needs that. That's a huge quality of life upgrade compared to what we had. Well, now we do have that, and it is amazing. Okay, so I've got everything pulled up here in the software, and I'm connected to the unit. Got my laptop here. Anyways, we're going to take a quick look at the software, the main things that they've added, which is pretty much cab simulation. But let me quickly go through why I think that this is such just an amazing unit for stage musicians in particular. It has dual stereo. It has stereo outputs for left and right. It has a separate output for the front of house mix, so that you can have a stereo mix on stage but still send the front of house its own dedicated line that doesn't get adjusted when you mess with the line output level. It has a headphone output on there. It has a control that lets you switch channels on the amp. Now, for this amp right here, it's a 3-channel amp, so I can only use 2 channels, but if you've got a typical 2-channel amp, you can use this with a cable connecting from the back of this into the back of your amp to change channels, and you can use the MIDI switching or the big GAFC foot controller to control all that. It has built-in effects. It has reverb, delay, compressor, looking here, and you can hear that through the cabinet, and I think it's the only one that actually does that. Like the aux box and the Captor X, they both have reverb and some delay in the aux box, but it doesn't go through the cabinet. It only goes through the line out. With this unit, you actually can get your effects through the cabinet, so you don't have to, if you only want reverb, you've got something like an old Plexi or something like that, you can get reverb without having to use an external effects pedal through the effects loop, which this does have an effects loop. It has the 10 dB cut in there. It has parallel or series, I believe, a switch for that. It also has the ability to adjust the reactive load for the low end and the top end, and this is the only unit on the market that does something like this. So if you're not familiar with it, real quick, these controls adjust how the low end feels and responds to your playing into the amp, and each amp will typically use a slightly different setting on each of these to just sort of to get where it feels just right. And I like that they let you do that, whereas most of the other load boxes on the market are sort of just preset to a certain type of impedance. Okay, so now that I've kind of gone over a bunch of the features in this, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the software and what new stuff this version 3 update brings. So first of all, to update this unit, if you have the unit powered off, you hold down the right button and then power the unit on, and the little ring around the right button will start flashing. It'll show up on your computer like a USB drive, and you drag and drop the firmware update or the operating system update onto the drive for the TAE, and then you push the little button on there and it updates the firmware. You power cycle the unit and you are good to go. The other thing is there's a new version of the software that actually has the new stuff in there. So you download the new version of the Boss editor, the WAZA editor here, and that's pretty much it. It was a very painless and quick process. So let's go ahead here on the cab mic setting, and you can see where you have kind of your typical virtual speaker cabinet and mic positioning. And if you look over here, you can go between a preset, which is basically your virtual cabin mic, or you can go to an impulse response. And I'll switch over to a different preset and show you the impulses here in a second, but I want to focus on what's built in here real quick. So right here is you can pick which cab you want. Right now I'm using the Greenback Vintage 30 blend. You've got quite a few different cabinets. You can kind of infer what some of these are, all the way down to a 1x8. But I really like the way that the Greenback V30 cabinet sounds. I also really like the 412 standard cab. Mics, you have your, start up at the top, you got, you know, your typical assortment of mics. I think I think that the SM7B is kind of the one that I would have liked to see in here, but it's got a good good assortment here. You've got your 121, you've got your 421 and a 57, and those are kind of your big three, at least for me, that I work with. But you've also got 3 different blends. I'm not sure what the blends are. They may have that documented, but I'm not exactly sure what they are. But basically, it's kind of like a little in between of, you know, each of the mics, and we'll kind of go through those here in a second. So anyways, if I switch over to this, let's see, and you can hear it change the control on the amp because that was how the preset was. So amp control, that's going to the clean channel and going to the crunch channel. But if I turn it off and then go to one of my presets, it'll automatically kick on the amp channel because that's how I have the preset for that part, that setting. So anyways, over to the IR here, you've got, let's see, cab 1 and cab 2, and this is just all the impulse responses that I've loaded in here. Now, speaking of impulses, here's how you load it. You literally click on IR loader and you point it to a folder with your impulses, and you drag these over into, from the left column over here, over into the right hand side. So I've got, let's see, I've got 3 spots left. I'll go ahead and grab, let's see, let's grab this one. So you literally just drag it over here and it will load the impulse in there. And what's nice is that the amount of time that it takes to load the impulses over, it seems like it's the same regardless of how many you load. So you can take like a dozen of them, drag a dozen over, and it takes the same amount of time instead of what you're seeing here times, you know, however many you've got pulling over. So it's nice that it's fairly quick in terms of uploading into the device. All right, let's go back into the cabinet setting and we will listen to some of the presets that I've cooked up here. This is using the ML Sound Labs, the Mega, so I got a Mesa cabinet, 421, and the Damon from the Reflex IR. So this is just the ML Mega IR. And here is just the Damon. And here's both of them again. And go mono. It's a little bit bigger when it's in full stereo. The one thing that I'm kind of not loving about it is that you can't adjust how much stereo separation there is. You either get all the way on one side and the other side, or you get all mono. So if you want to send the identical sound to both left and right outputs, you'll have to run it in mono, so you'll lose out on the stereo reverb and sort of the bigger sound stage that you would get from running a stereo sound. But the good thing is, from the main house, the front of house output on the back, it's a mono sound, so you get both of your cabs blended equally into that. So it's nice that you won't get just one side or the other go into the house. Next, let's take a listen to the room. Now, regardless of whether you're using an impulse or the virtual cabinet, you have this room sound over here. And I'll tell you what, let's go to another one. Now, this is using a couple of the Gent Pack IRs. They all sound really different, and I prefer the sound of the impulse responses. However, I think that the virtual cabinet in these, the virtual cabinets sound very good, and I was able to get really good sounds. And you've got a lot of flexibility, obviously, here with the ability to sort of mix and match your microphones, drag the positioning around. So. So as you can hear, I think it sounds great. And again, this is a huge, huge update compared to what we had before, which was literally you get one impulse response and that's kind of it. So I love this. Now let's take a listen. Turn the reverb all the way off here so we've got a dry sound other than the room here. So let's take a listen to the room and I think that's basically like nothing. No room sound at all. Okay, the last thing here is mix assist, and I'll be honest, I really feel like I don't fully understand what this is doing, and I probably need to do a little bit more reading up on it, but usually the way that I figure stuff out is I just sort of poke at it and see what it does, and I cannot for the life of me figure out what this is supposed to be used for. So I'll turn it on, let you hear what it does, and we'll figure it out together, I guess. I don't know. So this is without the mix assist on. This is with it on, and we'll put everything in the middle here. Transient. That sounds fancy. It's like it turns it into like a AM radio. Really harsh sound. I honestly, I wish I knew what this was, but I can't get it to sound good no matter where I set it to, so I just leave it off. Sounds better without it, so I don't know. If any of y'all know what this is for, please just let me know down in the comments. I feel like it's something that I'm not doing right, but I don't know. Maybe that's just what it does. I don't know. Anyways, let's see what else I'm missing here. What have I not talked about? Got the editor. You've got your presets over here that you can quickly go through. And again, if you've used a Katana, a lot of this is like exactly how the Boss Katana software is laid out, with like these little like kind of ring meters here for increasing stuff. I won't really go through anything too in-depth in here. Just wanted to focus on what the update had brought to the table. But a couple of other useful things, like you've got your separate EQ for the speaker cabinet, which is handy. You've got your line EQ, so you can have two different EQs, one for the DI sound and then another for the actual cabinet sound. You've got an adjustment where you can kind of toggle how much speaker output level you have here, but you also have a knob here, and I like that it's like an infinitely adjustable. It's not like a preset click the way that the aux box and the hot plate are. And the same for that. So you've got your reverb, delay, you've got compressor, and then you've got your effects loop, which you've got your loop on the unit, like a lot of these load boxes. All right, that is going to wrap this up. Again, huge update for the tube amp expander. This was sorely needed, and it's been a long time coming, and I'm glad that we finally got it. And if Boss want to keep making updates on this thing, be my guest. I think that this is just, again, is one of the, if not the best, DI attenuator, load box, you name it. It's just sort of a Swiss Army knife for stage musicians. It's got they thought of pretty much everything for this thing, and it's one reason why I've kept it around, is just because it's just a very, very good unit for live musicians who want to take a loud tube amp on stage and do a whole lot of stuff with it. And the fact that you can use MIDI with it is really great. And I've got kind of a separate setup that I use with MIDI on this thing, and it's just super flexible. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up this video for the version 3 update for the WAZA tube amp expander. Again, a huge thanks to the guys at Boss for actually not forgetting about the big boy here, showing us some love and giving us a much needed update. I really think that this brings out the best in what this unit is capable of, and it's been a long time coming, and I'm super happy that we finally have proper cabinet simulation in here. So anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.